Hello there, folks. Today I have a 1 versus 1 for you that you might have seen Exodus tweet out recently if you're following them on Twitter. It's between Alpha and Elidea. Alpha's called himself Legion is awesome for this game. So Alpha is playing MLA and Elidea is playing Legion. On this of all maps, Flakes on Cold Feet. This map is... it's been played in a couple of recent tournaments. It's got a number of ways of approaching your opponent, which can lead to really diverse methods of gameplay. So just before the players spawn in, having a look around, you've got the lower choke point here. You've got some mechs all around, or even on some raised platforms. You've even got some water there, but typically you don't see any naval. There's no point when you can just go air. And meanwhile, all around here, you've got all of the little bits of terrain popping up, giving line of sight blockers. But anyway, the players are spawned in on the north. Here we have Alpha in blue, MLA going vehicles first, double mechs, double power. Curious that he didn't go bots first, so no comm reclaim immediately from Alpha. And on the south spawn, in Legion Red, we have Elidea. Bots first, double mechs, double power, and then to... I think that's another bot factory, I think. It's kind of hard to tell from the blueprint for Legion. So there's a number of ways in which this game could pan out, really. I mean, it's MLA versus Legion, so it's going to be quite dynamic. MLA is going to have to spread out super duper fast. Legion having to go a little bit more on the defensive, going to rush to these sort of more proximal mechs here, maybe lock them down with a few turrets. Of course, Legion more expensive and has to play a little slower in the early game. So looking around, what's he doing? He's going for Peacekeepers initially, got 3 fabs up there, continuing to build with his comm, not even going for a second factory there, and getting up a Patriot, probably 4 anti-air, just to defend against bomber snipes. On the MLA side, however, air second vehicles coming out and expanding rapidly as you would expect from an MLA player. Getting as much lockdown as is possible. Curious spawn. I've only just noticed the spawn disparity here. Legion spawning by the 4, and MLA spawning forward with this commander here. And did he just pick up an ant in a pelican? That is an interesting move. He's inevitably going to do that to try and pick off any expanding fabber, because typically, yes, you send in air support, but you would not expect an ant drop. You expect bomber snipes, but not a pelican ant snipe. That's quite insane. Whoa! T2 rushing up from Elidea for the Legion. Bot T2. Immediate. Let's have a look at what Alpha can see here. He cannot see it. This ant is actually going to do well there. Picks the fab. And it's going to raid the mechs. Nice. And it could even get the scout on the T2, but it doesn't look like he's going to be doing so. So what we'll do is we'll keep an eye on that in Pip. Down there. We'll get picked off by a couple of Peacekeepers. Or will it? It will get chased away there in the Pip. Why I was looking at that in the Pip, I don't know. It's because I wanted to monitor the T2 situation. Let's have a look at the MLA base. Kind of slow start for the MLA, I must admit. I'm very surprised that he didn't go bots on this map because of how spread out the mechs is. It's very, very surprising indeed. Vehicles and fabs pushing forward though. I like this, just locking down some mechs that you can do. Not huge airplays. This is a really curious strategy here from the MLA player. Very slow, and it could play to his detriment going forward. Let's have a look at the Legion here, because having rushed T2, that presents Legion with the option of, okay, could I rush out? I could. I could get up a whole bunch of eco and actually start spamming lower tier units to maybe counter the Legion spam. But of course, don't forget that Elidea hasn't scouted himself, so he won't be able to see that Legion has actually been quite compact this game. He won't see that there's no T2, he won't see that it wasn't bots first. So it's really curious, especially not having an air factory. That's a really curious decision And why on earth this factory is weakened already, I have no idea. Was he reclaiming it for a bit to try and grab a bit of mechs? It's quite possible that he was reclaiming that with his comm to get a bit more metal. Air comes in and scouts the T2 from MLA. Alpha now knows that that is exactly what's going on. We've even got some defences going up at Satellite Metal. So finally Legion deciding to press out a little bit, as you would expect. And wow, a couple of Orb Weavers. I get confused between the Orb Weaver and the Miniman. Yeah, the Orb Weaver's the anti-air. Well, the curious is he's gone so heavy on the anti-air, but Necromancers! Wow, okay, so we're going to see some Purger play here from Legion. Moving around, taking out the vehicles. Going to be really, actually quite nice to do so. Legion really, however, needs to push out and actually get some scouting and raiding going, because otherwise MLA is going to be everywhere as we approach minute 6 in this game. Commander from MLA pushing forward. So it's pretty... This is a really unusual game, pretty stagnant and slow in the early game. Airfab is getting a lot of work done here. So much metal coming in from them. Both players now floating metal. Needs to up their power. There you go, that T2 power should be ample with 6k influx. And finally some vehicle factories out from Legion, so he'll be able to push out soon-ish, maybe. Depends on whether he blobs up or not. A couple of Orb Weavers. Are they the anti-air? I think they must be. I think it's the Miniman that's the siege bot. And a single Necromancer is going to support this army with these the Purger boom bots. Aha, and there's the combat fab. Doesn't need it to comm reclaim though, so we'll probably send it in with his army to keep that alive. MLA now, however, Alpha going for the T2 vehicles. Nice and ideal for this stage in the game. He really needs to get some levelers and shellers out. Certainly levelers. I mean, if he pushes in with levelers now, there's nothing to defend. I mean, that's kind of the risk Elidare is running here. He hasn't scouted, so having such a low unit count in his base is a really curious decision. Turret doing a little bit of work, not a huge amount. And that's the thing with Legion turrets, they don't last very long, but you kind of have to put them behind walls as the general idea. They are very cheap though, from what I understand. Very cheap indeed. So hopefully with the Legion now going for the vehicle factory play, we'll have the Shanks out. We do. We have the combat fabs. So the Peacekeepers are going to man the front line, soaking the damage there. The Shank's going to come up for the extra bit of support. The Necromancer's going in for the Purger shenanigans. And the Orb Weavers to defend against the air, although there isn't really an airplay going on. I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of interceptors, but have a look, there's only a couple of bumblebees around the place, so not a huge amount. A couple of investigators going out. Get a little bit of vision and scouting, really nice, so he sees what's ahead of him. And indeed, Legion is getting to the point where he is really starting to up his production. Let's have a look at the army tabs there. So, finally beginning to build a few factories. 9 to 5, going at about minute 9, I would imagine. Yep. Minute 9 there. Teleporter hopping itself up. That'll be what the combat fab's for on the front lines as well. Having that to build a proxy telly would be very, very potent if he can get that up. Where even is the combat fab? Is it still alive? Yep. Peacekeepers soaking the damage from the Purgers, allowing them to get close. Really, really nice moves there. And even adding in a Lancer for a bit of DPS. Taking down some mechs, but having a look at the economy tower is not really too much of a detriment right now. So don't forget the T2 is now complete. He'll be able to get some advanced metal in the MLA base, so that'll counter the whole satellite metal being raided shenanigans. There's the Orb Weaver doing the air damage, blimey. No air gets through today. Problem is, however, we do have levelers on the scene. Combat Fab desperately trying to get up the teleporter. What's ready to come through? Let's keep an eye on this battle while we just zinged the bottom base there. Few Necromancers coming through and an advanced Fabricator. Oh, wow! Oh, wow! Oh, chained! Oh, blimey! Oh, the Necromancer chain was nasty. The teleporter does survive though, albeit briefly. Does it go down? It does not. The levelers do not stem the flow. Yes, they do. We've got another Necromancer chain. Oh, that's horrible for Legion. He just lost so many units with that. Let's have a look at the army tab there. Down to 25 units. He had so many before. Completely knocked back. That was painful. Fortunately, he does still have the Investigator just sat around there, just getting a bit of radar. Let's have a look at what he has there in the Ellidae's radar. He does see a bunch of blips. But my goodness, those Necromancers. Not the best idea to have them quite so open like that. Having a look around the rest of the planet, though, what have we got? MLA continuing to expand. Airfabs doing the same. Couple of satellite factories going up, but heavy airplays now up to 7 air factories. Second vehicle factory coming out there, the T21, and orbital play from Ellidae of all people. Orbital play. Are you serious? What could he be doing with that? Maybe star cannons. Most likely star cannons. Don't forget, star cannons can no longer build the enforcers or scorpions, so they are not like unit cannons insofar as you won't necessarily be able to do the whole T2 bot vehicle snipe business with them. Don't forget, they don't actually have the range to be able to do that anyway. Advanced Fabber does go down, unfortunately, so do the bombers, but that was a great trade there, preventing the Advanced Fab from continuing to expand to those Advanced Metal. Not too much of a loss. I mean, Ellidae still has the floating economy thing, Commander Idle assisting a factory, rather. What he really needs is just a whole bunch of T1 production. I think Legion at this stage just wants to up their production. Ellidae are not necessarily doing so, down to 6 factories compared to 16. Don't forget that 7 of those 16 are air factories. And with the Orb Weavers around, the air is much less of a potent threat. The thing is, the Necromancers can be focused down, targeted, and chained. So that is going to be an additional risk. These expansions from Legion, though, have really done a lot of impressive kills there. It looks as though they've managed to snipe a couple of expanding Fabbers in places, which is really nice. Orbital counter from Alpha now. Not only just a factory launcher, but also an umbrella. There's the star cannon right near the equator. So that's actually in range of this whole base here. That is a threat. Oh, hello. Shields up. Levelers in. There is enough to defend against this, however, so yeah, they'll be able to pop down the Fabricator there. Nice hit on those, but loses his levelers for it. Oh, heads up. This Avenger not targeting the Fabricators. Fabricator gets the Stalwart up. But the issue, however, we're getting a slightly larger ratio of bumblebees, as one notices. Enough to be able to focus down the Shredder anti-air turrets, and will thus raid all the satellite metal. This is perhaps where Legion wants to move into the air, but he's deciding not to. He is adamant rather, that he is not necessary to chase the air game here. Combat Fabs up again. Oh! That is a proxy telly if ever there was one. That's a telly in your base, Alpha. What is this? Purges seeping through. What is this? We're going to have Necromancers coming through as well. They will get focused down. The Orb Weavers are there to defend them, however, so no chains coming off here. Necromancers want to spread out, though, because they are still susceptible to leveler snipes. But my goodness me, the Purges are in. Flying left, right, and centre. Let's go down into dynamic camera here and see what is coming through. Orb Weavers moving away from the Necromancers. The Necromancer chains! It does not. Very, very fortunate indeed. There's not enough in terms of actual unit defense here. Are units still coming through that teleporter? It would appear not. My goodness me. And that commander is now looking very, very exposed. He's got a bunch of dudes in his base. He has got a bunch of dudes in his base. He does not want to be there. He needs to get out of dodge, but unfortunately, looks as though he is adamant he is not necessary to do that. Necromancer's just continuing to build purges. This is great. It does not stop. The purges continue, and my word, that's a lot of Necromancers in picture. Even if they just run in now and suicide that comm, that's it. But they don't need to. The purges are there. And purges are actually really good against MLA bots because of the whole jumpy thing. They're invulnerable while they're jumping, so they can just leap into Doc's hordes and completely decimate. Down they go. Commander running for the hills. He's got nowhere left to hide. That proxy telly, though. Is there anything that... Oh my word, Alpha is! Let's not keep an eye on that in picture, but wow! Levelers coming in for the base trade, though. Unfortunately, Arsonists not great against levelers. They just take too long to be able to deal with it. In that picture, I'm just going to move out of there so that you can see the units overall. Levelers coming in. Necromancer! Commander escapes! Commanders are now in the same Alpha base. Oh my word. Leveler's going to push through this and wreck Eladea's Legion base. Eladea's economy is now in the drain. He has to kill the comm. His whole production is going to be gone, but it looks as though Alpha has actually lost this one. He's come off worse here. Did Eladea manage to escape with a couple of fabs? No, he did not. But Alpha only has a few levelers, and that's it. And levelers aren't going to deal with Necromancers. He does still have his heir, which could be important here. The thing is, there's the Orb Weavers, and as long as they stay even remotely close to that comm, there is no possibility of a bomber sniper. And still building so many hummingbirds that just are not necessary. Why you have insisted on building so many hummingbirds when there's no air to actually bother countering is beyond me. Commander actually sitting under a stalwart now. The bomber's going to try and defend him adamantly and vehemently, but it's not going to be enough. The purger's coming in. Down goes the comm. That escalated quickly. My goodness me, that was a good game. Kind of shows the dynamics, actually, of MLA versus Legion, and notice how neither team went comm reclaim. I almost wonder if they both agreed not to Commander reclaim in that game, because that is really curious how neither player did that. And notice how interesting that game was. I mean, yeah, you didn't have the T1, because Legion kind of just went all for the T2, but still... The strategy of Necromancer spam paid off, and unfortunately Alpha did not manage to lock down the telly. If Alpha had managed to kill off those combat fabs, putting up that telly, those levelers would have gotten into that base, presumably, and would have had to compete with these units in Eladea's base, because of course they wouldn't actually be in Alpha's base, so... I don't know, honestly, Necromancer Purger is fantastic against leveler. Absolutely fantastic. Anyway, I've been Marshall, folks. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Postcast, if you have any replays that you'd like me to cast or have a look at. I don't promise that all of them end up on YouTube. You can send me your PA Stats replay links, preferably on the forums, the Uber forums. But YouTube PMs work just as well. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, folks. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. However, the ground is in the base, the Kaijus are also in the base, and Admiral is actually, all of a sudden, looking at a very precarious situation because he just has not been able to stem the flow of T2 units. There's not enough bombers here to deal with this. The Storms are putting in work at last. Down go the Bumblebees. There's no more bombers in that force. And now there's nothing really to defend this base. There's only a few levelers, few and far between. He's rushing up a Zeus. Oh, he's rushing up a Zeus! Can he do it in time? Can he do it in time to save his comp? I don't think he can. His power is in the drain right now. And his comm is just watching it from afar. This pleases me. Oh dear. Leveler's coming over. They're going to see it. All the fabs.